Hi, Freda. Thanks for joining with me today.
Hey, Sherry, you are so welcome. Thank you for being willing to answer my questions.
Yeah, so the topic today is food sensitivity tests. They're all the rage. Why are people wanting to do them? You're like the third person to reach out this week that wants to do one. I am all for doing a food sensitivity test, but I want people to understand why they're doing it, why they have food sensitivities, what it all entails, and what do you do with the results from the food sensitivities
Hmm.
and what impact it's going to have on you. So, a couple of things with food sensitivities. It has the core root of many of our health conditions is our gut healing,
Hmm.
our gut our gut issues, and the gut is from the mouth to the rectum and everything in between. Two main categories of gut healing are intestinal permeability and gut dysbiosis. What do those mean? Intestinal permeability is where you get these small little holes in the junctures of the one cell's layer thick intestinal
Hmm.
lining. So when those junctures get compromised and they open up, we're now creating this system. It's not a closed system anymore. So this is like a pretty serious issue,
Hmm.
because let me show you this picture so you can
Okay.
see it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, so this picture shows the intestines. So this is the cartoon drawing of it. On the left, you're seeing a healthy intestine. This is the outside of the intestine on the top picture, picture A. Picture
Hmm.
B is the brush border, or the cilia. And then picture
Okay.
C and D is the unhealthy intestine and the unhealthy cilia. So you can see the cartoon drawing better. Um,
Okay.
but whoops, here we go. Okay. So this area here, if this is your intestine, it's only one cell thick. If there's starting to become an issue with intestinal permeability, then the things that are going through your intestines are able to get through this channel right here and into the rest of your body.
Oh, okay.
Does that
I
make
see.
sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what happens is your antibodies, or your immune, 90% of your immune system lives on this side of your intestines, which is basically butting up against the intestines. And the reason for that is for evolution. We wanted to make sure that if we ate a piece of raw meat, that any
Hmm.
bacteria we ate was being attacked by the immune system, so we wouldn't get sick and die. And that's sort of why the
Okay.
immune system evolved there. So with 90% of your immune system living right here, everyone has some amount of leaky gut in America. It's just a matter of
Mm.
how
How
much,
much?
because of pesticides, because of inflammatory foods that we intake, because of all the processed foods we eat, because of all of these things. That as your coach, I try to work on emptying the toxic bucket out, so that we are now removing some of these toxins. And it's going to help. We want to work on healing this so that it looks like this left side versus this right side of this drawing.
Okay.
So the now here's where the food sensitivity issue comes into play. When you're eating foods, the food molecules get broken down and then they go through the intestines. If you have bad leaky gut or intestinal permeability, then these
Okay.
molecules of the foods are getting in here into your body. Well, when that happens,
Hmm.
your and your antibodies, your immune system has to decide whether that molecule that's floating from the intestines where it should be staying into the body has to decide whether it's a friend or a foe.
Mm.
So imagine your antibodies as like the guards on top of the castle wall, and they're
Hmm.
watching the people of the community, walk through, and then they are like, is that a bad character or is that a good character? Right. And so
Hmm.
the bad characters, they're going to want to go and attack. The good characters, they leave them alone. Well, we don't really know. There are some indicators of why the immune system will attack certain molecules. One of them is repetition of that food. So if you're
Hmm.
eating um, almonds all the time, all the time, all the time, those guards on top of the castle might see those almond molecules coming into the body. They're supposed to stay in the intestines, remember, but because of leaky gut, they're not. They might see them come through the body and say, oh, we need to attack them because I keep seeing them over and over and over and over and over. Boom, now you have a food sensitivity. So but it doesn't always have to be that way. Like I've seen my food sensitivities all have some things pop that I haven't had, in a long time. So it's sort of a random thing that where you're not really sure what your immune system is going to attack. But the bottom line is the food should not be getting through the intestine, period. But it is.
Right.
So the food sensitivity test will illuminate what foods are triggering your immune system. So as a part of a healing journey of healing the intestinal lining, I tell clients if they want to do a food sensitivity test, it's just a part of the journey, because then we can take these foods out for a period of time to allow the immune system to calm down, because the guards are like on guard about those foods. If we allow them to relax, then we can do more healing, because the more things you get your immune system flared up about, the more it's going to contribute to leaky gut. It's this very circular pattern. So as you can see, it's like so not an easy answer on and that's why you told me that you did a bunch of research and you're like, why do some people say this is false? Like what's up with the food sensitivity? The reason is because you could do a food sensitivity now and do one in 6 months, and the foods would be different. The food that it's sensitive to could be different. With all that said, there are some foods that, as a general rule, once a food sensitivity, usually always a food sensitivity. And those are wheat, dairy, legumes, cashews, apples for some reason, a lot of times. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head right now, that those tend to and eggs. That's the biggest one. If you show a food sensitivity to one of those that I just described, more than likely it's just going to always be a food sensitivity issue for you, and you probably want to stay away from it unless you've completely healed your gut, which I've been working on since 2018. I don't even think I'm completely there. So
this was very helpful. This was helpful, and I'll tell you what prompted it was, I don't have any, there's nothing that's making me itch or making my throat swell up or hives or anything like that. It really was just, I was noticing when I want to say when I eat certain foods, but that's the whole reason for the test, right? Because I don't know the foods, but something that I am eating is giving me this sort of very sinusy, I don't want to make the noise because I hate the noise. Yeah, and it's immediately upon eating something that it makes me very, almost like when you're on the edges of a cold and you just kind of want to, but not in the throat. It's not in my throat. And I literally can feel it, right? In here. It's almost like if I blew my nose, that would help. But my nose is not running. I don't have a cold. I take, Claritin, the 24-hour. Intermittently as needed, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's just lately more and more the slightest thing, and it's enough to make me curious. It's not enough to be I'm not eating anything at all, but it was just enough to make me be something has shifted and something is causing this, and I kind of want to know, or at least try to get closer to what it is. And I have found that the more obvious culprits, like Greek yogurt, may she rest in peace, Greek yogurt was sis, we're not together.
You broke up, you're divorced.
We broke up. We went together really, really badly, and we were in a really, really deep, heavy relationship. She's a great source of protein.
You took her luggage and just threw it out the door, didn't you?
We just aren't together, and it was a tough breakup because she's like, I've been here for you for so long, and I'm so flexible. You can add fruit to me, and you can add this to me, and you can use me as a sub for sour cream, and
I know,
and you can do me in high fat or low fat, and it just wasn't a thing. And so that was an obvious thing, but I'm like, there's something else. there's something else and I can't quite pinpoint
Mm,
if it's soy or if it's, or what the
mm,
thing is. I don't know. And so that's how I was
mm,
like, you know what, let me ask Sherry, because I think at a minimum, it's a great place to start. And I think, you're an
mm,
information person like me. And I felt like, and then one of your other clients and I are good friends. And so
mm.
she and I were talking a few weeks back, and then she had another friend who had done some sensitivity testing. I'm not sure if with you, but just in general in the conversation. And I was like, when I get a minute, I'm going to reach out to Sherry. And then I actually been meaning to ask you for a few weeks and in life. So here we
Thanks.
are.
Well,
So,
thanks for being here and thanks for asking me. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so let me so you've given me some more details. Um, let me eliminate a little bit further on the differences, and then I'm going to go into what you just described. So food sensitivities the reactions can be many different things. They
Mm-hmm.
could be headaches,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, fast heart rate, constipation, diarrhea, um, bloating and gas, which is what normally happens with a food
Mm-hmm.
sensitivity, but it's not always. Weight
Mm-hmm.
gain on the scale and not having any other symptoms. That's what happens to me when I eat gluten.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are just some random things that can happen with a food sensitivity. With a food allergy, you get the scratchy throat,
Mm-hmm.
the itchy throat, the itchy mouth. You're having a more response. You get a rash. That's an allergy. So those would be two different tests that
Mm-hmm.
I would do. What you're describing, so interesting now that I'm hearing more, is a histamine response.
And I'm a Googler. I'm a Googler, but go ahead.
Did you
Because
Google
that came
that?
up. I didn't
Yeah.
Google that, but in the Googling of the, like, I'd eat something and then I'd Google the thing I ate, because I very much, and you help me with this, but it is something I prefer, whole foods, right? So the meal might be sliced strawberries and some, low sugar or no sugar turkey. And I don't know, maybe like a CHA wrap or something, right? And
Yeah.
some avocado mayo, right? Like all of the Sherry
Yep.
approved things. And then I finish and I'd be like, okay, strawberries. Okay, almond flour wraps. Okay, avocado basement. Like, because it's like the
Yep.
recipe is harder, but if it's individual things, and that came up. So go ahead. What were you going to say about
Yeah,
that?
the inflammation in the nose cavity, the sinuses is usually an indicator of a histamine response. The foods that are heavy hitters for histamine responses are avocados, strawberries,
You're going to say
wine.
strawberries. Do you remember
Hmm.
strawberries were a thing? You may not remember that specific thing because I know you see so many people. But strawberries came up for you and I during one of our plans, and I think you had me take them out for a couple of days
I
because
do remember that.
I was getting like headaches or something, and I was like, "That's so weird." But yes, it's interesting to hear you say strawberries because it came up when I looked it up.
Well, headaches can be associated with histamine response as well.
Hmm.
So,
Which makes sense. I mean, it's all
I mean,
in here.
girl, that I like my wine every once in a while. I'm not gonna lie, right? So I'm a truthful coach. That's
Yeah.
what's probably why a lot of my clients like me. But I'll drink wine if I have even I can't drink wine from the US unless I know it's organic. If I drink even organic wine, if I have two glasses, I wake up the next morning and I'm having a histamine response in my nose. It is just the body's way of creating something to protect you. It's the
Hmm.
histamine response. As we,
Hmm.
you get stung by a bee, a histamine response.
Hmm.
So the rule of thumb would be, for what you're experiencing, the cheapest option would be an elimination diet or some
Hmm.
sort of an elimination diet where you took
Hmm.
all I would take all fruits out for you, so
Hmm.
that we could then identify if one of them is happening. We'd get you down to ground zero, and
Hmm.
then we would just apply one at a time, like give you strawberries for 5 straight days,
Hmm.
not have strawberries for
Hmm.
after 5 days,
Yeah.
and see what your body does. So that
Hmm.
would be the cheapest option to run through. The other is doing a food sensitivity test, because if you're getting a histamine response, you're more than likely having a food sensitivity IgG response as well. So a test would find that.
Okay.
So, but either way is fine. But
I
I'm glad
still
you're
want to do the
getting.
IgG because I've actually not had strawberries. or avocado. I haven't had it today. I know exactly what I had today because I am still tracking my macros, and strawberries nor avocados were on the list. Or I want to say I can't think about whether I've had gluten today, but I know that I've also been making a very conscious effort to cut that out. Which means something I ate today because I'm having it now.
You're having it now.
So yeah, so
And
something
then
I had today.
what happens too, unfortunately, when the body's immune system revs and it's revved, then it's you know how like and if there's two dogs fighting and you're pulling off your dog off the other dog, your dog will turn around and snip at you because it's mad. It's just angry and it's got amygdala brain attacking. Well, that's sort of your immune system. So if you've got your immune system revved and then you put in some innocent, I don't know, call it whatever, there's something that you never would have had a reaction to in the past, blueberries. And then the immune system goes, no, I'm still gonna fight. I'm still fighting you, you know? And so to get back to ground zero takes a little bit of work and calming the system down. Also, just as a side note, because we're recording this too, and I want others to know this, a histamine response is associated with the central nervous system. Let that sink in for a minute.
Okay.
The central nervous system will perceive a threat, whether it's internal or external, whether it's a bear or COVID, whether it's, it doesn't matter. The central nervous system then mounts a response, which is a histamine response. So it's telling the immune system, go to work. So when you're having these flares, think about doing some grounding work, which I know you're totally into, and work on calming the central nervous system. That's another tip.
I love that. Thank you so much. This has been super helpful, and I definitely want to move forward with the IgG test for sure.
Perfect. All right, my friend, I'm going to stop recording and then we'll finish our call. But thank you for being my guinea pig here.
No, thank you.
Okay.